All right, so these are called variable on both sides and multi-step equations. Variable on both sides because you can see there are x's on both sides of the equal sign here. And then multi-step because you're going to have to distribute, we're going to have to combine. We've got kind of quite a few things that will happen in here. So first thing we would do here is draw our line. And really the first thing is to get rid of our parentheses. So we're going to distribute our -2 through our parentheses and rewrite. So I've got -2x minus 10 equals -4x minus 2. Again, we didn't have to do anything to the right side, so we just left that alone, but we carefully distributed on the left side. So now we got a decision to make. Now, I've got -2x on the left and -4x on the right. I need to get the variables to one side of that line. So I've got two options here. I could either add 2x to both sides, or I could add 4x to both sides. Now, my preference is to get the x variable, the x coefficient, to be positive. So if I add 2 to -4, I'm still at -2. Now, again, you can have a negative coefficient. There's nothing wrong with it. But I like to work with positive coefficients if possible. So I know that because -2 plus 4 is positive 2x, I want to do that. Now I'm going to rewrite everything else. So I still have my -10. That comes down. This -4 and positive 4 canceled out. And then my -2 comes down. Now what we have to do is identify where is the variable, right? It's on the left side, which means the number that's sitting here, that needs to go away. It needs to go to the other side. So I am going to add 10 because I want to move that over here. Again, the reason I did that is because now -10 plus 10 cancels out. My 2x comes down. -2 plus 10 is 8. And now we can just work on solving this like we would. I'm going to draw my line a little bit more. Divide by 2, divide by 2. And x equals 4. If we go back up to the beginning of this, and we think x equals 4, on the left side, we would get 4 plus 5, which is 9. And 9 times -2 equals -18. I'm hoping that the right side also will give me -18. -4 times 4 is -16. And -16 minus 2 is -18. So my check proves that the left side and the right side are the same, which means my answer was correct. All right, here's another one. Again, the first thing we're going to do is distribute through the parentheses. So -2x plus 6 and x plus 5. Now again, we've got the decision. I always try to move the variable first. I'm like, okay, do I want to add 2x to both sides? Or do I want to subtract x from both sides? So again, think about which one makes more sense, right? Which one's going to hopefully leave us an easier number to work with, which in my opinion, it's going to be adding 2x to both sides, because 1x plus 2x is 3x. Everything else gets written down. And again, that part canceled. So now again, the variable, this is one of the keys here. The variable for me, the way I did it, is on the left side, which means I need to move that 5 to the right side. So I'm going to subtract 5 and subtract 5. 3x equals 1. Now here we got to be careful, because what are we going to do? Well, we got to make sure that we divide by 3. So x is going to equal 1/3, and that's okay. And if we check it, we end up with the same answer on both sides. I just did that on my calculator to verify, but we're good. All right, here's 2 for you to do together. So again, pause the video, take a look at this, and we'll come back with the answers in a second. All right, negative 3x minus 6 equals 6x minus 15. I'm going to add 3x. Now, again, this wouldn't have to be the first step, but to me it makes more sense. Important to know your work here could look different. Could look different from me, could look different from your table mates. But again, getting the answer should be the goal here. Now let's see if we're good. I'm going to change this to 1. Change this to 1. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 minus 15 is negative 9. 1 plus 2 is 3. And 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. So negative 9 on both sides. That's our answer. The one on the right, distribute. 5x minus 10. 2x plus 9. Again, I can either subtract 2 or subtract 5. I'm going to subtract 2 to keep that right side positive. 3x minus 10, 9, add 10, add 10. That's 19 equals 3x. Now, we want to divide by 3, right? 3 doesn't go into 19, so it is perfectly acceptable to just leave your answer like that. Now, some of you may have turned that into a decimal and wrote that as 6.3 repeating. That's fine, or 6 1/3. That's fine. But again, that could be okay. You don't need to pick up your calculator to figure out what 19 over 3 is. All right. This one, now as we get to this set, 1/2 times 4x plus 6 equals negative x plus 5. I'll give you a couple seconds to write that down. But we've got some options here. And it kind of depends on the problem. So I've got this half, right? So we've got the first thing that makes sense probably is to distribute through the parentheses. And in this case, that's not bad because I just need to take half of 4, which is 2, and half of 6, which is 3. And we're basically done with that distribution. Now, you could do as we did with these problems previously, which was multiply by the reciprocal, which would mean I would multiply this entire thing by 2 over 1. And again, that would be fine as well. Now, this part would cancel, and that leaves me 4x plus 6 equals negative 2x plus 10. And again, either option would work, whether you want to distribute the fraction through the parenthesis or multiply by the reciprocal. Both of them would get us to the same thing. Now again, the work would look different, but at the end of the it should look, the answer should be the same. Now, my experience is most of you will distribute because that's what we're really trained to do. So we'll go ahead and distribute through. Half of 4 is 2. Half of 6 is 3. Again, I've got the options of either subtracting 2x or adding x. I would rather add x to keep things positive. So 2x plus x is 3x. Again, remember, bring these parts down. I know I need to move that 3, so I'm going to subtract the 3. 3x equals 2. Again, be careful here. What are we dividing by? We're dividing by 3 because that's the coefficient of x. So divide by 2, divide by 2, or divide by 3, sorry, and we get x equals 2/3. All right, let's see what the next one brings. So here you've got 2/5, right? So again, we've got options here. Do I want to distribute 2/5 through the parentheses? Do I want to multiply this side by 5/2 and cancel out, and then in turn multiply this side by 5/2? I will tell you in this case, that doesn't make a lot of sense, because if I take 5/2 times x, I've got 5/2 x. I don't really want to work with that. So in this one, that doesn't seem like a great strategy. And the other strategy would be, well, what's 2/5? 2 divided by 5 is 0.4. Nothing wrong with changing this to 0.4 and then distributing it. So again, options are the key here, right? What makes sense? What am I able to do? So we'll just leave this as 2/5 though and just work through it that way. If you got decimals, again, you're going to have a very similar piece here. I know that 2/5 of 5 is 2, so I've got 2x. And I know that 2/5 of 10 is 4. So again, that's the result of distributing that 2/5 through the parentheses. Then I've got x minus 2. Here again, I'm either going to subtract x or I'm going to subtract 2x. I would rather subtract x because I know that 2x would stay positive. Again, that comes down. This is now 1x. That comes down with its sign, minus 4. Now x is on the right side, so I need to get that 4 from the right side out of there. Negative 2 plus 4 is positive 2 equals 1x. Now again, most of the time we have to divide here. This time I've got 1x equals 2, so I don't need to divide. All right, and there's 2 more for you to look at and attempt. You can pause the video, give you a few minutes to do that with your group. Again, talk through strategies. What do you think makes sense here? What do you want to start with? Have that conversation with your group. And we'll pause it, and then we'll come back and look at the answer. All right, we should be back. In this one, whoops, I went all the way too far. In this first one, I would multiply by 3/4. 3/4 of 4 is 3, and 3/4 of 8 is 6. Again, if you turned this into 0.75, you'd get the same thing. So now we have 3x plus 6 equals 2x minus 5. I would subtract 2x from left, 2x from the right. I get minus 5 equals x plus 6. Subtract 6 from both sides. Negative 11 equals x. Again, I would make sure to check that to verify we're good. Now on this one, again, you get this one, you could multiply both sides by 4. 4 over 1, because again, the fraction would go away. And multiplying by 4 on this side isn't a big deal. Also, because of the fraction, having a 1/4 of 8 is also not a big deal, and a 1/4 of 4, not a big deal. Now, if I was asked to do a 1/4 of 5 or a 1/4 of 7, different story. But 1/4 of 8 is 2, and 1/4 of 4 is 1. So distributing the fraction through the parentheses works there. Now again, it doesn't always work great. Like I said, if I was taking 1/4 times 5, I wouldn't want to do that. I've got 10x on one side, 2x on the other. Let's subtract 2x from both sides. That leaves me 1 equals 8x minus 5. Let's add 5 to both sides. I forgot my line. 6 equals 8x. Again, be careful when you've got two numbers that don't divide greatly. Make sure that you're dividing the right one. So I get x equals 6 over 8, which would be the same thing as 3 over 4, which would be the same thing as 0.75. So you get all three of those would work. All right, a lot of stuff thrown at you today, a lot of variations, a lot of different problems. Hopefully it proves to be helpful.